Hello, welcome to the Steam Release Podcast. I am your host, Dewey Bear, and join me today is the lovely, the hardworking, Roadie Riveter.
Yay! Hi.
Those aren't work gloves.
I know. Yeah. Well, time off right now.
Time off, yeah. Gotta glam up on your time off. That's just what you have to do. That's life. And we have a special guest. He's back. We got AffinityChris. We didn't scare him off the first time.
Hi.
He is here of his own volition. We swear.
Got that right.
So welcome back.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we are glad to have you. Absolutely. So, with the introductions out of the way, I'm going to start with AffinityChris. What have you been up to?
I mean, lots of things.
Maybe more gaming related.
Gaming related?
Yeah.
So this might be weird, but I just started playing the original Phantasy Star last night. I was playing it until like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I've never played Phantasy Star ever. I don't know what struck me, but I was like, that game I'm going to jam out to right now. And I did. I picked it up on the Switch. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's been one of those ones that have always interested me. And I think when I originally played Final Fantasy XI back in the day, it was out in Japan and people were just waiting for it to come out over in America, and it just didn't. So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a very interesting series, or at least, sorry, one of the iterations in the series. I think it was the online one that we were waiting for it to come out.
Oh yeah, and speaking of that, Phantasy Star Online 2 was confirmed that it is coming to the Xbox in the West. So Xbox and PC in the West. It's coming this year, and it's coming with all expansions, so it's going to be all the content all at once. So that's one of the reasons I think it got delayed to 2020, is that it's being fully localized, so all the way up to the current content. So they're going to be on par with the Japanese content on release. So
that's interesting.
That's
kind of cool.
Wow.
Yeah,
I guess I got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, and apparently I've heard it has a really great story. There are English servers, but they're all in Thailand. And you need a VPN. So, and if they find out that you're not in Thailand, that like somehow, then yeah, you can get banned for that too. So I do know people who play it, but most of them have to VPN in. So, yep, because that's the only English version of that game. Yeah. So that is that's coming up. What about you, Roadypie? What have you been playing?
So, I started to play The Room 3. I love that series. I love that it's such a great puzzler series, and it's got like a weird story, and it's got like creepy undertones as well, and it's just fantastic. I'm not usually into those kind of like first person sort of perspectives. You know, when you watch someone play sort of those spooky games and there's always a first person perspective, but no, this is, you know, you're like unlocking boxes and like trying to figure out how to do these puzzles, and they're all 3D, and they're just great. It's just great. But yeah, I'm stuck at the moment, so I'm trying to not fall into that trap of keep looking something up every time I get stuck. I want to
pick up something, rub something on everything else.
Yeah. Although it's not really a point and click, you know what I mean? So because that's usually what they do if it's a point and click, but you don't really have a lot of items that you pick up. It is really just figuring out which way does this go, where does this go, where am I putting this, or yeah, it's great. And of course playing Final Fantasy 11 and occasionally playing 14, although I haven't really, just going on the auction house for that really and crafting. But yeah, I think 5.1's coming out soon, so yeah, I'm going to jump back in when that comes out for sure.
Oh, that'll be nice. Yeah, and that's the nice thing about that game. You can leave it unsub for a couple months and come back and you got content again, and it's nice.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. And you don't feel like you're behind or anything. It's like, no, it's fine. Just pick up where I left off.
Yeah, most of the content doesn't even become obsolete. So, like, even if you're like me, who's behind and leveling up, like, I'm still able to go through the content as if it's new. So it's really nice. All right. So, and as for me, yes, I am working on catching up in Final Fantasy XIV. As far as indie games have been doing, I've not been much. Like this last week has been Final Fantasy XIV. My brother resubbed, so that's one of the reasons we've been playing Palace of the Dead together. But I have been making... I've had this idea, this little like brainworm going on. That's a weird way to say it. But like, you know how you have an earworm where you hear music all the time? That's what I mean when I say brainworm. I have this idea that keeps coming back. It's probably not an idiom that actually sounds right. But anyhow, so I've just been looking like, okay, what are the... I've just been making lists. Like what are according to Steam, what are the best free-to-play games? What are the best from different years? And I'm like, what about games that come from different countries? So I'm starting to just do a bunch of this tracking, and I don't know if it's going to be a feature on the show, but I'm just doing a bunch of research right now. So I'm just curious. So that is what I'm up to. Yes, exactly. That's what I have got this week. It's probably not an alien. But yeah, I do get a lot of these sort of repetitive thoughts. It's like, oh, that's an idea. You should try that. You should try that. I feel like it's one half of my brain going like, hey, do this.
No, but I think that's a great idea because we do come across a lot of free-to-play games, and you know, sometimes we get our friends to play those games. Sometimes we play them ourselves, and it's, you know, and some of them some of them are really great and they've gone beyond our expectations, but some of them have just fallen flat, and I'm not so sure about. So yeah, I think it's could be something we could have in this segment one time, or a couple of times. Say, hey, these are the really good free-to-play games that you can get right now.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like, okay, what can people get like that's quality when they get Steam and don't want to spend any money? Like, how far can you get with no money on Steam and have a whole lot of great experiences? So I'm kind of curious. And I've, my first 10, like, I got 2019 free games. Almost all of them are half hour to 2 hours, but they're free. So, like, that's the point. They're just short, mostly student games. I'm like, oh, these look really good. I should, like, spend an afternoon playing 2 or 3 of them and maybe stream it. So, yeah. Because I haven't had a game that I've wanted to share with people that way. Like me catching up in Final Fantasy XIV, that's my calm, chill time for myself. So anyhow.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
That's enough yammering. Let's get on to the first topic. So the first topic, a game that we spoke about a few weeks ago, got reviewed by everyone's favorite Australian YouTuber, Yahtzee.
Oh, he's in the US now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He moved to the US. Yeah. I mean, you can't take the Australia out of an Australian, though. So.
He's British, you know.
He's British? Oh, really?
Yes. Yes.
I thought he was from Australia.
No, he only lived in Australia.
Oh, okay. So he's British, moved to Australia, and now moved... Oh, okay. So he's British. I never knew that. Never knew that, Yahtzee. But I just assumed he had a posh Australian accent, so... Interesting. All right. I learn something new every day. But yeah, so it got Yahtzee reviewed it, and how would you summarize his thoughts?
So he really wanted to. So he saw this game, and he definitely thought there was, you know, something in it. And you know, then we talked about it because we saw it and we thought, oh, yeah, this is quite interesting. And he thought, oh, you know, maybe I could like play this and you know, maybe this be an indie darling that no one else has talked about, and I could tell everybody about it, and you know, everyone would love me for it. And he said, I played it. He said the story was so interesting he wanted to play completely to the end, but he said there were so many ideas thrown into it, that the developer didn't focus enough on one particular idea to make it successful enough. And he he said, you just ideas all over the place, and they just weren't cohesive, at some points. And it was a nice sort of bits that were nice platformers suddenly would ramp up in difficulty for absolutely unnecessarily. And it was just I don't know, because he did a post zero punctuation stream of it, and I was thinking, some of this is great, but this is what's happening here, and it's really bloated. It's a really bloated game with just too much going on, and there were game breaking bugs. He got to a certain point and couldn't get any further because the game broke on him while he was reviewing, and then another time when he was actually streaming it. So it was like, yeah, sorry, I can't play any further.
Yeah, so this is it said it's by two folks, Paul Hellman and Sean Scapelhorn. Are they well-known developers?
I don't think so. And this game has been in development for 7 years.
Yeah, so it's been a long-term passion project.
7 years.
7 years. And they do have a publisher as well. So 505 Games were pushing them to get this out. Unsurprisingly, because it's been 7 years. And, they don't have, with such a big scope of a game, they just can't have those QA people to test for everything. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, that even speaks to sort of the downside of having so much different types of content in the game. If they had focused it more, they might have been able to just have it feel more polished as a whole, and had a shorter development cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, 7 years, that's rough.
Yeah, that is rough.
We didn't get to this part, but he says there's one point in the game where the robot, the main character, he ends up in a village and he's doing the dishes and talking to these old ladies in like this cafe and stuff like that, and this is where he's gotten a job now or something, and then he goes on a time traveling trip and then comes back and he's doing the dishes again, and it's never mentioned ever again. And so it's just like so the dev got bored, threw something else in and just kept it in the game though, But the developer was on the stream talking to Yahtzee about it, and yeah, at least at the beginning.
Well, I mean, at the same time, like, I would have a dozen Horaces than another shovelware, but it's like, I don't know if this is Paul and Sean's first game. I wouldn't call them like rookie developers because they've been doing this for 7 years at this point, even if this is their only game. But you know what? I look forward to their next project, honestly, because they clearly have a lot of vision, but it's about implementing that vision. So I look forward to seeing what ideas they got in the future.
I really hope that they continue patching Horace, so it does eventually become bug-free and
how it was intended to be.
Absolutely.
Yep, so hopefully it'll come soon. They did have a patch back in July, so hopefully another patch will be coming down the road soon. So, and hopefully they've gotten at least enough money back to dedicate some time to that.
Well, this is it. I mean, if you get a massive shout out from Yahtzee, then you're going to get a few people picking up the game, at least just for curiosity's sake.
Yep. Let me see. All right, so that is Horace. We did also get a shout out, a reply on Twitter from a developer, Dunamai. He did a totally realistic. I'm trying to remember the title. No, wait. Realistic Super Realistic Autocross, that's what it was. Yes, so Dunamai developed the game Super Realistic Autocross. He is, I don't know if this is a joke, but he is a rocket scientist by day, at least according to his bio. And he develops games, on his own time. So he responded with, really appreciate the shout out and video. You were very kind. I might have to start tuning in since you were very thorough on your summaries for the game. So thank you very much, Dunamai. We appreciate it. So
thank you.
And yeah, he made a really cool game, and I look forward to his future releases. Yeah. All right. And with that, we can get to not quite to the list, but to our honorable mentions. And we do have a few. Our first honorable mention is Lichtspear Double Spear Edition. This game made a bit of a I think it did make a bit of a splash back in 2018 or 2017 when the original one came out. And yeah, so it's just a little arcade game where you throw a spear, and this is a new multiplayer edition.
Okay, I haven't heard of this series before.
Mm-hmm.
So but looks interesting.
It's kind of it's both a meme game, but at the same time it has some quality content. So it's cool that it's released a new version. I'm not entirely sure it necessarily warrants a full new page, where it feels a bit more like a patch. So I don't know. I'm a little conflicted about that, them having a new page about it. But yeah, they developed a new one. So
nice. I love the style. I love the over exaggerated, like almost 80s vibe.
Yeah.
So it's based on Germanic mythology, but I found out that the developers are located out of Warsaw, Poland. I was like, okay, so they're Polish devs. I mean, a lot of people in Poland do have more Germanic ancestry. All of Eastern Europe has a really complicated history. But so it's just like, I expected them to be German devs, but no, they are Polish devs. So
okay.
But yeah, so cool little factoid.
Well, it's 20% off right now, so it's $6.39.
Yep, $6.39, and yeah, it's really fun. A little bit psychedelic, but yeah. The next title is
how much is it in US?
It's $7.99. Yes.
Okay.
So our next honorable mention is called Arida, Backlands Awakening. This is by Ao Aokagam. I don't know how to pronounce it, actually. I don't know. Ioka? Yeah, Ioka. Mm-hmm. Ioka Game Lab. Yeah, that's probably how. I do not know Portuguese. I'm sorry. But they are a development studio out of Salvador, Brazil. This is a story about survival and adventure in the Brazilian backlands. Face the drought to explore the more arid regions, gather resources, and discover clues about the fate of young Cicera. So I have two reasons for putting this in honorable mention section. One is this is a part one of it's like a first chapter, which may not be entirely clear from its store page. And two is that it's not very long. It's only about an hour and a half. There might be some additional content you can squeeze out of it by doing some additional tasks, but it's not a very long game. So, but
interesting to see a sort of an episodic style release with a survival game. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole like survival mechanics and there's also a bit of a mystery and adventure stuff going on. It's cool. Like you're gradually building up a homestead sort of situation. So
okay. Yeah, because as Chris says, it's normally reserved for like sort of point and click adventure games and visual novels and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. It looks good though. It looks great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a neat aesthetic. It's got a cool like setting. Like to me, that sort of situation is like, gradually building up your homestead. That's actually quite endearing to me. That sort of being able to look around and see your work accomplished kind of thing. But yeah, I am curious how it's going to do. I am also curious, how is it going to release? Will we have to pay for every episode, or is this going to be patches that go on to it? I've not been able to get that information from what I've seen on their website, and I've just not been able to find that. Maybe I missed something, so I'm not entirely sure how their rollout's going to be.
You never know. They may not know either. They might be waiting to see what the reception is to see if that's even viable.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. Sometimes just being quiet might just be the way of like, we'll see what works best. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a Rita. It is I think it's the first since I started tracking. I think it's not the first. We've had another Brazilian game in the past, but yeah, it's one of the few Brazilian games we've had on the show, so that's cool.
That is 15% off right now, so it's £6.11.
Yep, and it's $8.49 US. So yeah, it's Arita's Backland. Our next title is Pendula Swing, episode 6. So Pendula, we've been talking about it for a while. We featured the prologue several episodes back, and this is the 6th episode. It has proven to us that they are capable of regularly releasing story updates.
Yes, and so this is one more. They've got one more episode after this.
Oh,
and that's it. Then the series is done. So this is good that they've kept up with it. Regular episode releases, and their bundle is 30% off right now. So it's $14.31.
Oh, for all 6.
Yeah, for all. I think it's all 6.
Oh yeah.
Well, it says yeah.
Yep, and it's $17.45 US. Chris, I don't know if you're familiar with Pendula, but Pendula, it's like 1920s US, but everyone's like, but fantasy races are real. So there's like trolls, there's orcs, there's elves, there's dwarves, etc. And I think Pendula is a lady dwarf. I think that's the main character. No, wait, Pendula is the world. But the main character is a lady dwarf, if I remember correctly. So, and you've just got this whole like world of going on, and there's like they have a lot of allegorical stuff to the US in the 1920s. For example, there's a civil rights movement for the goblins, and a few other groups that are definitely less privileged in the society, and the system's working against them. So it's very interesting. There's a lot of these little allegories that they got going on, but it's in this fantasy universe. So there's magic in addition to flappers. So
and remember,
that's
episode 1 is free. Sorry, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love that. It reminds me of, I can't remember the name of the game. It reminds me of an old like pure adventure game from, I don't know, the early 90s that had a similar concept of like kind of using modern technology, but fantasy races are real, and it blew my mind as a kid.
Isn't that Shadow? No, Shadowblade?
Shadowblade, yeah, Shadowblade's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Arcanum. I think that's it. It's maybe a little bit more fantasy than I made it sound, but similar like world building concept. And then Pendula just like really goes deep into the 1920s kind of aesthetic. Yeah, I love this. This is pretty great.
And it's got this sort of top-down thing, like Divinity Original Sin sort of thing going on. So it's pretty neat aesthetic. But yeah, so honestly, if you want to get into Pendula Swing, now's probably the best time. Like, get in at episode 6, because then you get to have that sort of like suspense for episode 7, so you don't just kind of rush through it real quick. That might be the best time, because you only have to remember one. You only have one break, and I feel like that's almost a good thing to give the feeling of an episodic experience.
Yeah, and it looks like episode 1 is free. So
Yep.
It is good.
If you just wanted to see how it is, get episode 1. and you know, maybe that'll get you hooked.
Mm-hmm. All right, and welcome. What at is a friend of the podcast, so welcome. The next title, honorable mention, is Unheard, the lethal script. This is an expansion to the game Unheard, correct?
Yes. It's a DLC, and they did have it out, but it was only in Chinese. So now it's out in English. So. But yeah, it's like an extra story or an extra case. So, and that's and it's free. So yeah, it automatic. If you already have the game, it automatically downloaded it. So.
Oh wow! Okay, that's actually really cool. That's neat. So yeah, so you've played through the first game, and you would definitely give that a thumbs up.
Oh, absolutely! This is it. It's so intriguing. You know, you're they say, oh, you know, the police we're found new ways of investigating cases because you know they've got you can jump into different rooms where conversations are being had, and you can sort of eavesdrop on these conversations. So these are cases that have already happened. So they've already happened, and you're like eavesdropping on conversations and where, you know, the people are, and you're trying to work out who did what, and or who stole what, or who set off the bomb, and yeah. So it's they're just very interesting cases, and it's some of them are really unexpected. So yeah, I loved it. It is someone who likes like point and click games, which are, you know, always best tied to like mystery games. This was really good. This was amazing. And there's such like simple visuals as well. So yeah.
But yeah,
and I was, when I first saw this, I was really worried that I would miss something, like miss conversations, or you could only listen to it the once and not, like, you know, go back and listen to things again, so you'd maybe miss certain things at certain times. But you know, you can go back and go to a different room and listen elsewhere. So yeah, it's there's none of this gating off of anything.
Okay, so that definitely helps. That way you kind of like draw out, like fill out, like if this person was here, this person was here, this person was here,
yeah.
And then at this time this person was over here, so they couldn't have been over here. So that's good, because it definitely lets you do the detective work as a detective would be doing it. That's cool.
Yeah.
So
and also you to like match the names to the people, because at first you don't know who's who and everything. So when you listen in, you gotta you saying, oh yeah, this person's Gladys or this person's John.
Is it the kind of game that you would like keep a notebook with you and just kind of like jot things down to try to connect the dots with?
Yeah, I did. So when I played through it, I had like a little notepad, and I was like, right. But you also have a little kind of timestamp on the thing, so you can put little notes there. So this is when someone is making a call or someone's received a call. So yeah, that's what I was doing with that. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that is really cool.
I like those kind of things. Yeah.
But yeah,
real detective.
Yeah, definitely. It's cool to see this sort of more experimental game type actually be quite successful at what it's trying to be. So that is cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've ever heard of another game that does quite this exact same thing. So yeah. And with that, we are ready for the actual release list. So we're done with the honorable mentions. We've got a ton of awesome games. Well, not a ton, but we got quite a few awesome games to talk about. And yeah, this last week has been quite eventful. So, and we got some story times about a few of the developers. So I'm looking forward to talking about. All right, so just getting right into it. Monday, August 12th, we have Eliza. Eliza is a visual novel about an AI counseling program, the people who develop it and the people who use it. Follow Evelyn Ishino Aubrey as she reconnects with people from her past, gets to know the people of Seattle, and use Eliza for counseling, and decides the course of her future. So no surprise, this is developed by a company that's near Seattle, Redmond, Washington. I do believe I met these devs at a indie development. I at least talked to whoever was at that booth. I'm not sure it was, but it's Zachtronics. They make a lot of neat indie games. I don't think they've done a visual novel before, so that is cool. But yeah, they're from Redmond, Washington, and it's cool that it's kind of set sort of in my home area. It's like, oh, this is cool. But yeah.
Yeah, when because I do like visual novels, but it's always difficult to find like really good ones. They're always kind of like those kind of like always dating sims ones. So when I saw this, I was like, oh no, this is a bit different. I'm interested, and I'm curious to how interactive this is going to be as well, because that's another thing with some visual novels, they're just not that interactive. Some of them have some great gameplay in them, but others have very minimal ones. So yeah, I'm curious to how this actually plays.
Well, Zachtronics as Godless Weeb brought up, Zachtronics makes puzzle games. They've made quite a few that are huge success: Infinifactory, TIS 100, Ironclad Tactics, just these Exapunks. These are the ones I'm familiar with. Shenzhen Solitaire, I didn't know they made that. But yeah, they are pretty prolific. That's the word I'm looking for. They're pretty prolific, and this is their latest title, and it seems to be a departure. But if with their puzzle game past, I would be very surprised if they didn't have some interesting puzzle mechanics for this title as well. So I'm very surprised. But yep. So it's emotional and atmospheric though. So that's the
taglines.
Yep. Oh, and they've got a game of Kabufuda Solitaire. It's a Japanese solid card game. So they have a game inside the game. So they do have that. Interesting. But yeah, Zachtronics. Thank you. This
is $11.39.
Yeah, it's $14.99. So yeah. What are your thoughts, Chris?
I mean, I'm just oogling this art style. I can't tell if these are paint overs or if they're just, straight up full rendered paintings, but I think it looks amazing.
I don't think these are paint overs. Well, they might use a photograph for inspiration, but the ratios are off just enough that I don't think these are paint overs.
Right. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking too. But either way, I really like this, and I think it's looking through their list of games that they've already developed. I'm just like, wow, I have so many of their games, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, didn't realize it was the same developer, because every game they put out is different from the last one. Like even though they previously did a lot of puzzle games, like each one is different. So different aesthetic, except everything.
Yeah, I think with that in mind, like I think it's just refreshing to see developers willing to just kind of switch things up and get out of their comfort zone. I think that's really telling of devs that kind of have the right mindset to kind of keep growing and not just sort of do this cookie cutter thing.
Yeah.
And if my understanding is correct, if my memory serves me, this company started with just two folks. They might have been both named Zach, but it's just like started with just I know one of them is Zach, at least. So it just started with a couple, and they just like started working together, and they've gotten other people to come in as they need talent for certain things. But yeah, it's to this day it's still a fairly small company. So it's cool just to see a small company just pumping out the games and getting positive reviews. It's nice to see. A lot of love goes into their work. So
yeah, it's 57 reviews right now, and it's 96% positive.
Yeah, so probably a good visual novel experience.
Yeah,
I would say. Okay, so enough about my local bias. Our next title is Anodyne 2: Return to Dust.
Now it's time for my local bias.
Yeah, so this is developed by Sean Hantani and Marina Kitaka. They are out of Chicago, Illinois. But yeah, run, jump, and drive across vast, dreamy 3D landscapes, sink into surreal 2D dungeons inside of characters' bodies, travel the world, meet strange people, and save the world from the dangerous nanodust. Don't miss the follow-up to the classic game Anodyne. Yeah. Interesting premise. It took me a while to figure out what this game was when I was looking at the trailer and stuff. I was like, it's a platformer, an RPG, and the answer is it's kind of all of it. So
yeah, it's definitely, I think, a callback to a lot of classics, and just sort of kind of melding them together to try to tell a cohesive story. But if you've ever played the first Anodyne, that was very like classic Zelda with sort of a more puzzle and more surreal spin on it. And then this one, I think they just kind of looked at some 3D games, and they're from you know the 90s, and said, okay, let's sort of evolve Anodyne into the next phase and still tie it back by splicing in the 2D component.
So I guess the 2D is like when they're inside the programming. Oh, sorry.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting visually, like having that sort of shift between the 3D and the 2D.
I just say though, like, when people do the retro 3D, it often looks amateurish and really unattractive, but just with the proper use of color theory and real faithfulness to how older games actually looked, it doesn't look bad. It actually looks quite good. So, yeah, for the retro 3D art. Because generally, like, retro and 3D, put those together and my stomach kind of turns usually. Like, no, this is probably bad, but this looks really nice. So, very good job. It takes a lot of talent to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So... yeah, they've got 89% positive and 89 reviews, so that is really, really good.
I already bought this too. I just need to actually boot it up.
Oh, dang! Ooh. Okay, so we'll have a report soon enough.
I hope so. Yeah. Would love to know your thoughts on if it's everything's it lived up to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge sucker for some of the other stuff that they've created. Like I did a lot of beta testing for Even the Ocean, and that's a game that I think didn't get a ton of attention, which was a bit of a shame. But I think they do excellent work, the two of them. I think, yeah, it always feels very polished. It's always a really good experience. I wonder if people just kind of get turned off by some of the retro stuff that they sort of lean into.
So one of these reviews confuses me. It's very weird, but Anodyne 2 is like eating yourself out from the inside of a giant watermelon. It's confusing, delicious, sticky, exhausting, and with persistence and appetite, full of light. Okay, then.
That's great.
All right. There's a negative review expressing that there's a bit of like, there's not enough show and a bit too much tell as far as the writing goes. But that's the only negative review I can find, at least in the top bit. So that's yeah, it's doing pretty well. So good job. And you know, that's definitely a valid criticism if a game does do a bit too much tell, but
yeah,
there are still a lot of games that do a lot of tell though and are still fine.
Yeah, it is. I think it's just how you go about it. You know what I mean? If they're because if they're telling you something and it's like, wow, that sounds really interesting. Can I see it? and of course they don't show it, then that's really bad. Because it's like, well, the story
you were saying, Chris?
than the visual.
Oh no, I was just agreeing.
Okay. All right, so yeah, Anodyne. Let me see, and they have Anodyne 1 is also on available on Anodyne 1 is also available on Steam. It is half off right now, so it is only $4.99, and Even the Ocean is also half off. Oh wow, so they've got everything on sale probably for their release of their newer games. That's cool.
And if you don't want to buy Anodyne 2, it's 10% off right now. £13.94 in the UK.
And $17.99 in the US. And you can get a soundtrack.
They are doing a 1 and 2 bundle. Oh no, that's the bundle
the
soundtrack.
Yeah.
Damn, yeah. Damn it. I see. That would be good if they did like the 1 and 2 bundle. They should have done that.
It's such a smart idea because it's like you get a little bit more money and you get to have another sale on your older games. So, it's a good idea. So, but I mean, they have everything half off right now, so that kind of works out. Alrighty. So our next title is Exception. I feel like there's so many games with this in the title. There's a lot. Let me see. Is this the right one? No, this is an older one. So there's been 2 games called Exception that have come out recently. There we go. One out of China, and this one. Exception is developed by Traxmaster Software, and they are located in South Carolina. So the premise is, when an old woman's computer is taken over by a virus bent on total annihilation, you assume control of an ordinary software program transformed into an elite combat machine. Retake the system and build your character into a formidable instrument of retribution. So yeah, it's an action platformer, side-scroller with this cool sort of, how to describe this, like, Fez-esque sort of turning mechanic of the
environment.
Environment
turning,
Instead of using it for puzzles, they use it to like reinforce the action in platforming. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so there's never a dull moment. That's pretty cool.
I do like this neon aesthetic. It's not too overwhelming. So we've seen a lot that are just too much.
It's still on the line for me, but it's at the point where I don't think, if for at least as someone with epilepsy, I'm not visually triggered, but with people who do have that issue, it's games like this I'm like, man, I feel like there's people who might not be able to play this, but it's not that bad. There was definitely some games on this list in the release list. I don't think I included them, but there's definitely some games that are so like over the top that I'm like, yeah, this should probably have an epilepsy warning on it. So, but...
unless if this is the one that is the exception.
Very good. So, very good. But yeah, good job. They have got I see. They've only got 3 reviews at the moment, and they've got more than that. They got 5 reviews, and they are all positive. I'm seeing 3.5. So probably under 4 hours as far as gameplay. Yeah, short and sweet. You won't regret playing through this. Soundtrack. That a lot of people are talking about how the soundtrack is great, and it's not for sale.
It's 2 hours of synthesizer tracks.
2 hours of music for like an under 4-hour game. That's impressive.
That is pretty good.
It's $11.39. So yeah, I'm not sure. $11.39 for under 4 hours. I don't know. Maybe. It's on that borderline. You know what I mean?
Personally, I as someone who does like action platformers, I'd probably wait for a sale. Personally, but with all positive reviews, this is probably a gem worth checking out. So, and it's it's got, let me see, it's got a lot of cool. It's got a lot of cool features. They've got an illustrated story, so I suppose a comic, a sort of comic story inside the game, and upgrade your character to unleash crystal attacks, dynamic bonus system. So this is a cool gameplay customization that's there. That's nice. So, Exception. I think this is the first game that I've known of that's come out of South Carolina. There's definitely been more, but the first game that I think I've noted has come there. So that's cool. So yeah, that's Exception. That is, yeah, $14.99 US if I didn't bring that up. So next title is Dicey Dungeons. This is from Tuesday, August 13th. And this is by the legendary Terry Kavanagh from London, England.
I'm so excited to play this game. And listen to the soundtrack. Chip Zell is the composer for this. Chip Zell is
really
amazing. Oh yeah.
I've heard of Chip Zell, so only because I've seen their name on other games. So just like, oh, neat. So yeah, that's awesome. And listening to the music, it does sound pretty good. Chip Zell. So this is fighting against fortune would be a lot easier if you weren't walking dice. So that's a whole summary. I guess it's a sort of adventure RPG, strategy roguelike. So it's a turn-based roguelike strategy RPG.
I love the cartoony art for it. It's something that's so cute.
It does have really excellent. That sort of chalk art or crayon art style. Yeah. But at the same time, it's very clean. It's very clean, but it's got that sort of like children's storybook look.
Yeah.
That's nice. And quite a few, I'm looking at the different screens. There seems to be a lot of different interfaces they end up dealing with. So, okay, silence enemy, dodge next attack. Oh, so you've got different options for your different characters. I feel like I'm going to have to play this game in order to understand fully what's going on, because it seems to have a lot. But Terry Kavanagh is a veteran developer. He also made Super Hexagon and So yeah, he's been releasing games, and I've seen both Hexagon and VVVV at the Seattle Indie Expo. So he's kind of a big deal in the indie scene. So it's cool that he's got another game out. I think this one was mildly featured at, it was E3 or some other convention, where it at least got a minor feature as like one of the studios, like indie, like, hey, indie shout out kind of thing. So maybe it's the Game Awards.
Well, it's got 364 reviews right now, and 86% of them are positive. And there's one of these ones that have the plus and the negatives on there. Says the roguelike experience is rather limited. Replayability is low. Replaying same levels is not really fun, as every run is very most popular reason, besides RNG, of faded death in this game for me was not a miscalculation and not an obvious mistake, but a simple carelessness. For example, you may forgot to re-equip items from previous ones were destroyed. It is a mistake, of course, but in this case, it happens mostly because of clunky game mechanics. Okay. Very limited effective options to manipulate RNG, especially as some characters. No achievements, only in-game challenges. Well, thank you, GT4. Yeah, some people do like achievements. I'm one of them. It's nice to have some achievements, I think. Yeah. But I would never put it as a negative against a game.
Yeah. And he did say it's a good game for 10 to 20 hours, so that gives us a ballpark for the amount of gameplay. So that's cool. So yeah, it is $13.49 in the US right now at 10% off.
Yeah, and that's 10:25 here.
Have either of you played any of Terry Kavanagh's other games?
I played a ton of Super Hexagon. I think I booted up VVVVVVV, but was not very good and didn't get super far.
Yeah, I'm almost done with VVVVVV, but it's gotten to a point where it's like really difficult, and I'm like, I need to get back and finish it. I really do. I need to finish it. It's in my library. Once I finish it, I can just move it up. But it's a good game. He's really good at taking a weird concept and just expanding on it. Like he just takes one. That's what his games are. Is they're a single concept that's expanded on, mechanically, at least speaking. It's a mechanical concept that expands on. And that's really good, especially for an indie developer. It's like, okay, I've got an idea. I'm just going to expand on this idea as much as possible. And that's it. So it's a kind of a gimmick games, but they're so polished and well done. So very cool.
Yeah, I haven't played any of his games. Really, my type of thing. But he's put a lot of polish into them.
Yep. All right. Our next title is also from August 13th. It is Wanna Survive. This game is developed by Peanut. I gotta get careful how I pronounce this. PINIX. Pinix games. They are from Taipei, Taiwan. So.
Their logo is a phoenix. I see what they're trying to get with that name.
Oh, but then how? Then you pronounce it Peony? No, I'm not gonna say it. Okay. Yeah. But it's so it's sort of a turn-based strategy where you're fighting off hordes of zombies. I'm surprised I didn't see this because Roadypie had to point this out to me. But as a fan of the Shining Force series, this might have to end up on my wish list. And it is actually set in Taipei because there's the Taipei Tower in the background, the Pagoda Tower. So that is cool. So it's like it's a post-apocalyptic Taipei. That's awesome. So
yeah, because I know there are loads of zombie games out there, but I saw the gameplay. Wow, that's really different, and it looks very well done. So I thought, this is going on the list. And there's doggy in there as well.
Yeah, you have a doggy that can get killed.
Yeah. No, yes, help the doggy.
I mean, it seems like there's been, you know what, that's another list we can make. That's an idea. We can make all these weird lists, like games with raccoon protagonists, games with strategy games with dogs. Because there's this Wanna Survive, there's War Tune, which has a dog that you can play. There's another turn-based strategy, and there's another turn-based strategy where it's like Indiana Jones sort of setting with like you're fighting Nazis in the Egyptian desert, getting artifacts. What is that one called? Pathways. Pathways. Yeah, and that one also has a dog, and they can all die. So.
We need to make these lists.
Yeah, that's one I gotta keep in mind, and just like make a list of these weird niche categories, because I feel like it might be a funny feature to have sometime. But yeah, so Wanna Survive. This is on my wish list. Even if they have a weird developer name.
It's 10% off right now. It's $8.36, and there's 13 reviews right now, 100% positive.
Wow, not a spoiler in that group. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm wondering how long this is. So, oh wait, is it? Sorry, it says there's 25 reviews. So I don't know why it's.
It's not up to date. It's never up to date up there. But yeah. So there's a lot of the reviews are of course in Chinese. But let me see. Yeah. So there's folks saying Oh yeah, there's no negative reviews. So I'm trying to see if there's any minuses to see if there's any like caveats for us, but I'm not seeing any that I can read. As far as playtime, I have no idea because I'm seeing everything from 1 hour to 20 hours. So I'm gonna lean probably closer to the 20 hours though. As far as gameplay, because knowing this type of gameplay, it can take a while, especially if you're like thinking through all your moves. Yeah,
and there's quite a few people with like 20, 23 hours, something like that. So yeah, safe to say this you can get to 20 hours quite easily.
Yeah, it seems like one with a lot of good replayability.
Well, I never read the pitch. It is a high-speed zombie tactics, fast mobs of undead, and attacking from all sides, and the streamlined turn-based tactics that emphasizes unit placements and synergies. Help the survivors live through fights and manage their rations to avoid permanent death. Okay, so it's like a sort of that permanent death situation. All right, and I just might be able to reach the sanctuary. So it's probably also like, oh, you play again and again as you figure out better strategies. I can dig it. This is on my wish list. I want it. It is $10.79 US with 10% off at the moment. Let me see. So our next title is from Wednesday, August 14th. It is Misadventures of Laura Silver, Chapter 1. Is that gonna find anything? There we go. Oh, and Chapter 2 is slated to come out in summer 2020. All right, so need more stress in your life? Meet Laura Silver, a paranoid and insomniac detective tasked with researching Slavic mythology. Do you know anything about the Vodnik? Neither does she. Unfortunately, her incompetence won't be your biggest problem in Czechoslovakia. Yep.
So I don't know, something about her, like we're playing someone who's completely incompetent, or is that? I don't know. It's such a weird thing because it kind of like it kind of rubbed me up the wrong way. You know what I mean? It's like
paranoid insomniac detective. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that either.
Yeah.
It depends on how they do it. Like, is it going to be... Yeah, it really depends on how the writing ends up doing it. Also, the art style bothers the hell out of me.
The eyes kind of freak me out.
Yeah, they freak me out. Like, I was disturbed. Like, their eyes are too close together, and they got these weird, like... Now, features, there are 70,000 plus words. So it's basically a novel. 8 hours of total gameplay, over 100 decisions, multiple endings, visual novel with minigame elements. Yeah, so... let me see. What do people think? Sassy female lead plus Will and Grace plus artsy equals interesting visual novel. Will and Grace is like a TV show, wasn't it? No.
Yeah.
Good art. The characters develop smoothly, and you can see how they interact with one another for some entertaining scenes. So maybe if they don't play up her vices too much, it might be okay. Yeah. Maybe that's just like some things that are there.
If it was like played very comedically as well, that would be fine.
That would also work.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it depends. Again, it depends.
But those are kind of like features of a character that I would probably not want to have in the pitch. Like, I'd like to find out that about her. Like, she's paranoid. She's a paranoid detective. Well, I guess that kind of works out. Oh, she's also an insomniac. I mean, that also kind of works out for a detective, but to an extreme.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you mean. It's like when you're playing it, that it makes for a very interesting character, but putting it in your pitch, it's like, it's not really selling you on the person, is it? It's like,
because it's with a visual novel. I mean, this is the Misadventures of Laura Silver, so there's probably going to be a comedy of mistakes to a degree in this story, since it's called the Misadventures. But with that main character, you need to either pitch mostly just the story and not so much the character, and then you grow to learn the character. I know it's a weird pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it's just the confusion of, is this a comedy game or is this trying to like be both funny and serious at the same time. Because if it's just comedy, then I think it makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not really explicitly calling that out, so that's where it leaves me like, I don't really know how to feel about their pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and they've got this is by a studio, Loris. Let me see, what's the studio's called? Studio Attic Salt. Okay. They are from Turkey, so maybe Attic Salt is a reference that a culture reference I don't understand. But yeah, so they are a studio from Turkey. Yeah. Visual novel studio, and this is their first title on Steam. So
congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yes, 15% off right now, so it's $6.79.
It's $6.79 in the UK?
Yep.
Oh, it's also $6.79 in the US, so they did not adjust for inflation. They were like I mean, it's not too expensive. Like, if it's about 8 hours, that's reasonable for both countries. It's just America's getting a slightly better deal.
Yeah.
So...
Well, it's 94% positive, so you're still getting a good game.
I think it's just the pitch that threw us off, but maybe I'm looking at a lot of satisfied people. So
I'm seeing a pre-release review, and someone just put yes.
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 I see.
7.5 hours of gameplay, and they said yes.
There is a negative review, but I do not speak Turkish, so we're just gonna have to. Yeah, that is very positive. So I'm pretty sure there's probably gonna be an enjoyable visual novel experience with that many folks. Anyhow, with that, we have our next title, The Great Perhaps. A lot of story games this week, I have to say. There's a lot of story games. Because our next title, known as The Great Perhaps, and it is being broadcasted. Whoops. This is being broadcasted right now by whom? Okay, just, I think it's the developer. Yeah, the developer's playing at the moment. So, when there's a broadcaster, it messes up the centering of the video. Gosh, okay. So this is The Great Perhaps. It is by Caligari Games. They are based in Moscow, Russia. The Great Perhaps is a time travel puzzle game about an astronaut returned to Earth, destroyed by natural cataclysms. There among the ruins, he finds an unusual artifact, an old lantern, in the light of which you see glimpses of another time and travel to the past.
This was like, I saw this is looked very interesting, but the artwork was still some of it's really good, but some of the characters look a little off. You know what I mean? But it's published by DARQ Entertainment, and they're like a fairly big point and click publisher.
Oh, yeah, they are fairly well known. Take a look.
Yeah.
Let me see. Is this their first title? No, this is the Caligari's first title out. Let me see. Challenging puzzles, minigames based around time travel. Oh, I wonder if it's going to be kind of like Braid in that way. They do have a bit of a Braid aesthetic. A little bit. No, not really. I've changed my mind. It doesn't have a Braid aesthetic. But yeah, there are English reviews. My Russian is not that good. Okay, there is let me see. This game starts out good and seems like it has real potential, but pretty soon it becomes repetitive. It's basically a lot of walking around without getting killed, waiting, picking up objects from time to time, giving it to other characters, or that's a point-and-click game. Okay, thank you for your review. Oh, here's someone. Negatives are, some of the riddles are not very intuitive. Okay, point-and-click game. A bit chunky controls. That could be a problem. But...
yeah, I'd say some of the riddles are not very intuitive. That is a bad point-and-click game.
It's a bad point-and-click problem, but a lot of point-and-click games have it. But yeah. So it does have great artwork. The music is apparently very good. Time travel mechanic, nicely done, and it has voice acting. That's also pretty good. So, yeah. And it's short, about 1 to 2 hours. So, it is $9.99 US.
It is $8.99 UK.
Yep. It's got 22 reviews, 81% positive. But yeah, The Great Perhaps. So congrats on your first title.
Yeah, not sure how long it is though.
I'm thinking it's probably 1.5 to 2 hours.
Seems
there
like
are some longer.
That seems like a weird thing, especially one published by Deliax. They normally do longer point and click games. But
yeah, this is the first title from this studio though, so I'm not sure if it's like their debut offer. $10 does seem a little bit steep if it's only a couple hours, but all right. Our next title is from Thursday, August 15th, and it is DARQ with a Q. DARQ tells the story of Lloyd, a boy who's become aware of the fact that he is dreaming. The dream quickly turns into a nightmare, and all attempts to wake up end in failure. Lloyd learns how to survive the nightmare by bending the laws of physics and manipulating the fluid fabric of the dream world.
Boy, this is aesthetic.
Yeah. Aesthetic in all caps.
Yeah. I'm digging it. I think it looks stunning, actually.
Oh my word. It's really they were going for unsettling and they succeeded. Like, I find this highly unsettling.
You know, and I like too, it's got a similar vibe that shoot, what's the name of the game? Not Limbo, but their other game. What was the other game that they came out with?
I'm trying to think of it. Inside.
So it's got a similar aesthetic to Inside, but this almost has a like.
You got the sweep.
Almost like it doesn't feel this like they were trying to copy it. It almost has sort of a like claymation look to it, but it's still full frame. So it doesn't have that jitter, but it's got that kind of atmosphere to it. It's cool though. I like this a lot.
Yeah, it's like Halloween Town / Coraline sort of look to it.
Yeah, like Little Nightmares. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a 91% positive, so it's doing very good. This is by Unfold Games, kind of close to where I live. It's they're based out of Los Angeles, California. Any other information? This is their first game on Steam, so they definitely started with a bang.
Yeah.
Nice.
So how long is this? How long is this game?
I see. Sound design by Bjorn Jacobson. Yada yada yada. Psychological horror.
Not seeing more than 4 hours, but most people are clocking in about 2 to 3.
Yeah, 2 to 3 hours. Puzzles aren't hard, and the game is way too short, but it obviously nails the visuals, the atmosphere, and surreality of the nightmare. Taken as a whole, I like the game. My biggest complaint is that I just wish there was more of it. That's from Cheshire Review. Another review. So overall, the gameplay itself is actually really good, if not flawless, but there's just one problem. 2 hours of playtime for $20 price tag.
It's $15.49 here, and I think, for 2 hours, it's like...
Yeah, it's $20. So if the aesthetic is so good, but like if the price is a problem, maybe wait for a winter sale or something, the upcoming major sale, and maybe it might go on a discount. But man, it's got a really positive review rating though.
Yeah.
So it might almost be like going to a movie for some people with how much I liked it. But man, DARQ, Unfold Games. Man, it's so cool looking though. This is one horror game I might check out. Yeah, and that's someone who's an absolute coward. The look of it is just so interesting to me, so I might have to check it out. Oof. Oh, and it's got that whole gravity chain, and it's just cool. It's cool. A lot of cool stuff. Okay, so with that, after dark, we have our next title, Overpass. Is this right? Nope, this is the wrong one. There are multiple games called Overpass. This one. There we go. All right, so this is Overpass by Studio Bean, known as One Mr. Bean on Twitter. He is from Austin, Texas, so from Christopher Clever's part of town. And it is a rhythm game where you kind of have to notice these signs and push the right button at the right time while you're looking up at the skyline.
Oh, that's really interesting. So I was looking at it and I wasn't quite sure what you needed to do.
That's a cool way of sort of switching up this style of game, because there's definitely a lot of rhythm games that kind of play with a similar style of mechanic, but they're totally changing the perspective. So I feel like that gives them a lot of ability to kind of do some real weird stuff with the visuals to throw you off.
Mm-hmm. I think there's probably a bit of trial and error with some of these, where it's like, oh yeah, that's an arrow in the distance, or yeah, there's probably a bit of trial and error to learning this. It kind of reminds me, I feel like this is a concept that this developer probably came up with when he was like sitting in the car and like, you know, on a long road trip and looking up through the skylight. I feel like that's what you know, as a kid, like that's something I would do, is just look up and, like, as we were driving through Seattle, see if I could recognize where we were based on like the location of trees and buildings. So yeah, it's a neat concept. I like it a lot. Because I don't feature a lot of rhythm games on the show because they tend to be a lot of the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah.
It's still, the gameplay wise is pretty similar, but it's the aesthetic that really stands out.
I feel like this is definitely the kind of game, though, that would kind of, if you get really into the groove of it, I think it's a good kind of almost Zen game. Like, it'll play it and you just really get hyper focused on it and just kind of zone out to it. Kind of like if sitting in the back of a car just watching things pass over your head all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's so pretty.
I mean, the only thing I know maybe different when you actually boot up the game is actually the little signs might be too small because you know they're all giving different instructions, so it's like they're big enough to see properly. So yeah, that's a.
And it seems each level has its own rules too. Like there's one where you're on a pipe and you have to hold down the button while you're on a pipe. And that might be different on different levels.
Yeah.
Like, what's the thing that you're holding down for? So that's interesting. My word. But yeah, Studio Bean. Is this their first title? This is not their first title. They also made Choice Chamber, Basket Bell, and Sound Dodger, which are all very abstract looking games. This one, though low poly, is really well done low poly. So either their art chops went up a lot, or they got an artist to work with them. So this is beautiful. This is really pretty. But yeah, Studio Bean. It is $13.49 US and has 7 reviews. Right, there is a negative review. It's mostly positive. This game's premise gave it a lot of potential, especially as many feel that is a genre that's not in need of innovation. All right. Challenge, mistaken for putting tiny notes in your field of view too quickly to be able to react. Well, yeah, that does seem to be the main issue with this one. The aesthetic is nice. So is the music. But those are overweighed by the severe negative that is level design. Yeah.
Well, 10% off right now for $10.25.
$10.25. No, that's pretty good. So yeah, it's got 8 global regions with 30 unique handcrafted tracks. 30 tracks. That's pretty impressive for an indie game, actually. Makeup and Vanity Bounce, Cruise, and Chill with the original album from Makeup and Vanity Set. Is that the group? Branching Paths. Oh, there's branching paths in the tracks. Workshop support, full controller, and keyboard options to suit your playstyle.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Studio Bean. Let me see. Our next Overpass. Yeah, we talked about the price. All right, the next title is Ion Fury. There we go. 3D Realms, creators of Duke Nukem 3D, Prey, and Max Payne, are excited to team up with Voidpoint to bring back the legendary build engine, famously known for classic first-person shooters like Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, and Blood. Iron Fury is the real deal. You know what? As more of a retro gamer, Chris, this looks like it might be up your alley.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is fantastic. I think we were actually talking about this at work. Just kind of chuckling about how over the top and how like it really gets the right flavor of these old retro 3D games. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked for this. I'm trying to remember. I think there was one gun in particular that we were just like, this game is ridiculous.
And yes, as Godless we brought up, yes, its original title was Ion Maiden, but it changed its name for some strange reason. Ion Fury is still a fine name, but yeah, it definitely could be a bit more punny before. But it's, again, another example of that retro 3D that looks fantastic. Yeah, this looks great, and just kind of a riot. This is the one that was mentioning, I think, in the pre-show that, yeah, this is like a really big title that's been in early access for a long time. And I was like, maybe bring it up again. But yeah, very positive.
And I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I wonder if the name of the game is in reference to Ion Storm, since Ion Storm is the folks that developed the original Deus Ex and Daikatana, which sort of have a very similar retro first-person shooter kind of jam to it.
Maybe it might be an homage. It is Voidpoint LLC, which are based out of Pepperwood Grove, California. I have no idea what Pepperwood Grove is, so it can't be a big city. Let's see. Yeah, old school FPS. I see. I don't see. I'm trying to see if there's any like negative reviews visible, but it is 94% positive of the recent reviews and 96% positive of the overall reviews.
Yeah,
so
that's really good.
Yeah,
and there's over like 2,000 reviews, wasn't there? I think, or no, overall it's
1,500.
Yeah, 1,500. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a lot.
So yeah, 3D Realms. This is Voidpoint's first game, but of course, as they mentioned, the developers are veterans, like the developers on this team. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like a big fan of these characters, but I think the one I really liked was GoldenEye, which I think everyone likes. So, but yeah, I like stuff like that. But is it like multiplayer or is it only single player?
It is only single player. So yeah.
Oh, that would be cool. It would be cool if you could have like a versus mode.
Versus or co-op.
Yeah. Well, as I was thinking, a bit like GoldenEye, if you had those kind of PvP modes, just like just for that mode, not for having in like a story mode or anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could see like the shooting mechanics in this game does seem really fun. Like this would be cool in a PvP. That would be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
yeah, Ion Fury. Alrighty. Our next title is a game called FlowScape, and you'll see a moment why I said game. So in FlowScape, you can create your own nature scene simply by painting. Choose from 20 landscapes and more than 300 models to create your own little paradise by painting trees, changing the sky, rotating the sun, adding sound effects, and adjusting your camera for that perfect photo. This is a 94% positive out of 75 reviews and is developed by Pixel Forest Games out of Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. But yeah, it's not so much a game; it's more of an environment modifier, but it's very pretty.
Well, I think it's like one of those kind of games, you know, when you build a house and you well, a bit like House Flipper or something, you know, you're just designing, instead of designing a house, you're designing an environment instead. So I think, you know, something like that. And I get that, and you can put in your own buildings as well, your own houses. So I think though people that like those kind of games, I think you know, would love this.
Yeah, and it's cool that you can sort of make your own screenshots and stuff. And you know, as someone who's like, hey, oh my, taking your own screenshots out of this. That would be really good for website art, actually. Like just something in the background. So it's like, oh, I made this. There we go. But yeah, it's a cool system, and sort of how they allow you to randomly scatter stuff. Environment art technology has gotten so far that you're able to procedurally generate this sort of artwork so well.
It almost makes me wonder how if this could like inspire people to become level designers in games, just because it's looking at this tool set, it's like these are kinds of the same types of stuff that I would see at work. So it's like this just looks like a more robust thing because it's its own, like that's the only point of this is to make environments. So it's got a really robust tool set, but it's like it's the same reason why games like Mario Maker start teaching people how to make platforming level design. Like this could teach you how to make, you know, environmental level design. I think this is kind of wonderful.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think anything like this that makes it like more accessible for people to either get into the industry or at least get them more interested on how games are made, then I think all fantastic.
Yeah, it is cool that we're continuing to see more and more of these dev tool games coming out. Another one, Planet Coaster, like that game made people get into like 3D modeling because there's so much you could do with that game. And it was at the point where like people were like, you know, just these Twitch streamers who normally just play games, they're like, I spent the last 5 hours watching the 3D art tutorials because I want to make this like building look just this way, and they're like, yeah, I'm a 3D artist. Like they suddenly like they discovered that after like several weeks of work, and was like, yeah, I can make 3D art now. That happened. So it's cool that that, you know, just giving people that that skill set. Man.
Yeah, this is 11.39, so you know this is fairly reasonable, I think. But it's obviously with something like this, it's up to you how much you want to put into it as well.
Oh yeah. This is going on my wish list. I wasn't convinced, but now I am. It's going on my wish list. I feel like I could make some fun stuff in here.
Yeah. You could do a stream of like saying, "Oh, this is what I'm gonna make."
Oh, and now you can import your own 3D models. See, that's the dangerous thing. That's what Planet Coaster did. It's like you can import your models, and then people are like, "I can import models," and they even had like some tools to help you create models. They're like, "Oh no!" So they got really into stuff like that. This is awesome. Does it have Does this have Steam Lab support? Oh, it doesn't, but it really should.
Yeah.
Hopefully they add that eventually. Let me see. All right, so I've seen a lot of positive reviews where they were describing like this is like there's been people who do work in 3D art and they're like this is a really good 3D art engine. Like I mean just the process of like making just a 3D art tool like environment art tool that's really good. But then there's a negative review. Having used other 3D software, I find this less to be desired. Biggest thing is UI, which is definitely the weakest link in the software for me. Yeah, so it's because it uses pictures rather than text a lot. Yeah, the UI is similar to Picture Book, but at the same time, like, this is for non-technical people.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. It's like, well, no, if I just want to make something like very nice and I don't want to get too down with the technicalities of it, you know what I mean? You want something accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's meant to be a sandbox, not a professional toolbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my word, these are so pretty though. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty.
All right, come away now, dude. Come away.
It's so pretty. Yes, come away. Yes, come away. Okay. So this is by Pixel Force Games. This is their first game on Steam. It's beautiful. Oh. Man, this is like that game you talked about when you play the paint. Yeah, exactly. That game. That's on my wish list still. I want that. I don't remember its name. But yeah, FlowScape. It is $14.99.
Passepartout, is that the one you think? Oh no, I know what you mean. Yeah, the bench that you also, the painter.
Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful game. It looks like it was made in this. Like it's so beautiful. So this game is $14.99 US, and you said it was like $10, 10 quid.
Yeah, that's it. 11 quid. 11 quid.
11 quid. All right. Definitely not going to break the bank, especially considering how much you could do with this.
Yeah.
So, all right. And with that, we're done with August 15th, and we're on to Friday, August 16th, with The Adventures of Sullivan. All right. A retired bounty hunter is on the path of destruction to get his stolen car back from the menacing horde of cyborg bats. That's a sentence. And a slew of other galactic villains. That is a sentence I never thought I'd say. The first trailer does this game a huge disservice because it slows down the frame rate. Like they're trying to do a slow motion view. That's not how the game actually looks. This is what the game actually looks like.
Yeah, that was exactly my thought too. It's like, if the frame rate is bad in the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a mistake on the developer's part. It's like, don't do a slow-mo thing in your trailer if you can help it. But yeah, I mean, you can do a slow-mo in a cutscene technically, even with these older games, and it's a little charming. But yeah, no, not here. Mm-hmm. So it is by Bunker Studios out of Portland, Maine. So the other Portland. At least from my view on the West Coast. But yeah, Portland, Maine. It's this sort of pixel art. It's not my favorite aesthetic, but it doesn't look bad. It's just the textures are a little flat. Yeah,
I was gonna say because obviously both of us really like pixel art, and I think AffinityChris does as well. But this is not the best version of it.
I mean, they're even choosing sprites that don't require animations, so it doesn't look the most polished in the world, but if it plays well, that might make up for it.
I know this isn't a big team, so to a degree I may commend them in knowing their limits on what they're capable of like making a game with, but there's always room for improvement. Let me see, what do the reviews look like? It says they have no reviews up here. They've got no reviews, so... Alright, so what are the features? They have 18 unique weapons, 7 levels across a wide variety of environments, 60 different enemies. I mean, that's not bad.
Heartfelt story.
Heartfelt story, yes. Full gamepad control, future DLC, and ongoing updates post-release. So, yeah. So this is their first game. Yep, from Bumper's Car Studios. And you know what? For first game, it's not bad. It's not bad. This looks playable. So, and there's a variety of environments. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's $3.99. So it's nice little game to if you're looking for something nice little indie game, and it might be nice, fast paced, and maybe on the shorter side maybe. So yeah.
Yeah, no idea how long it is. It does they do say 7 levels, so I don't know how big those levels are. So it's probably not a really long-term experience. But yeah, $5 US. There are things about the aesthetic I find pleasant. So even though the pixel art isn't really well textured and very detailed, it gets the point across. Like, it's abstract enough that it gets the point across. And they have good use of color theory. So they've got those things going for them. And those are the 2 really important things. But as far as, like, there's a lot of straight lines where there probably shouldn't be. Because it looks almost like it was made in an engine. I know what I mean by that is, like, one of those game maker studio type of things. Mm-hmm. And if that is the case, that they succeeded in doing a fairly good job of not making it look generic. So, but yeah, it's not going to break the bank though. So they're only asking $5 as a first title. There's I got a lot of respect for these devs. So, yep, nothing too crazy. So Bumper Car Studios, good job, and welcome to Steam. All right, and with that, we are on to our final game of the list. It is Pixel Shinobi. Okay, Pixel Shinobi 9 Demons of Mamoru. Yes. With demons being lowercase for some reason. I think that's a mistake. But, yeah, so this is a bloody stealth platformer about the ninja in which you cut the enemies into pieces. Pretty straightforward. This is developed by a Latvian developer. I believe it was actually hard to find information about this dev. Like, they have a Twitter, but they don't have a lot of personal information. So I had to go on a bunch of different indie game dev sites, and I found that on one of them, like, among the employees, there's one person, and it said their country was Latvia. So that's what I'm basing that guess on, and occasionally they do type in Russian. So I'm like... okay. I did some internet research, and I think they're from Latvia. Known as Amethyst Studio, which is also a Romanian makeup studio.
Oh.
Yep.
So I've actually played this game before.
You did?
Yeah, almost. Gosh, it would be at least a year and a half, if not almost 2 years ago. I think they sent me, and it must have been in an alpha state at that point, but we played it on a YouTube show that I used to create content for. And it was pretty good. Like, considering that this has had 2 more years of development since I last played it, I think that's a pretty good sign. Because the one really positive thing I could say about it from back then was that the game feel was great. Like, playing the game felt really good, intuitive, and fun. My only complaint back then, I think, was that the level design was like, it was okay. Like, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't the most interesting thing in the world. But if it's had 2 years of work since then, they might have really blown it out of the water.
It's the pixel art is fantastic. Just straight up, it's fantastic. And yes, it was in early access for a very long time, because and it's gotten 89% of very positive reviews at 126 reviews total. So it's finally out. Yeah, update August 18th, release 1.0.0.0. Yeah, let me see what was there in their release notes. Mostly bug fixes. Yeah, it looks like it was just bug fixes with their final release. So it looks like they've just been kind of gradually adding. Yeah, they added content just before they released. So yeah, it's looks like it's just been a very gradual, iterative process. Features, stealth, I like that. Fast and dynamic gameplay, 10 powerful bosses, dynamic battles with vivid animations, dismemberment and gore, craft more than 200 crafting. Really? That's that makes this game much more tempting, because I always feel like games that are combat based but then have a non-combat feature, I don't know, it feels much more rich and immersive to me.
But it's like you can have a little bit of a breather, isn't it? It's like you're so fast paced and action packed, and then it's like, I know now I can tinker with something, or
I can take a break and still advance my character.
Yeah, so exactly.
That's why I prefer games like, in the MMO space, I prefer games like Final Fantasy XIV and Elder Scrolls Online to, say, Terra, which is just killing big monsters, getting loot, killing big monsters. Like, there's no crafting in that game. So yeah, that's definitely why I lean more to those games that have more. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the same. Any MMO, it's got to have like a quite a robust crafting system, because it's what I like to do. Just like potter about, do a little bit of crafting, maybe a bit of gardening, and then go and kill a big monster. I mean, that's a perfect day.
Oh, the pixel art is so good. Oh my gosh, I like this. I'm actually really tempted to put this on my wish list as well. It's been one of those weeks. I go through many weeks where it's like, there's nothing really here that I'd want to go out and buy myself, but yeah.
this week it's like, well, no, actually, I'll put this on my list. Yeah, no, it's I put a few on my list. This is 25% off right now, so it's $5.99, and yeah, I think very, very reasonably priced with how much work this guy's put into it, and it sounds like a lot of love and care has gone into it, and made sure as many bugs have been squashed and everything, and really fleshed out as well. So this is how you release a game.
Yeah, and knowing Chris's recommendation about game feel, that's something that can't be understated. Like, if it feels smooth, man, that's nice.
AffinityChris seal of approval.
Got Chris's seal, so that definitely like puts me on the edge. Like, it's on my wish list. Yeah. Yes. All right. Let me see. I guess that's yeah. And with that, that's our final game of the list. Now, before we go, think about your best of the list. But before we go there, Roadie always graces us with some of the choicest of the games that we have to dig through to find the games that we've featured in the list today. And so we're going to share some of Roadie's favorites. Yeah, the list of horrors. So
this is the first one.
Horror Shift. All right. Not a terrible name. Oh no. All right, I don't hate it. The aesthetic is bad. Like, it's got promise though. So this is, let me see, you're a chubby fairy. What? You're a chubby fairy and hordes of monsters are trying to eat you. In order to shift, the psychedelic action never stops.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's
now on Steam on itch.io. It's is it? I wouldn't pay $5 for this though.
This is it. That was one of the reasons that they put it on the horrors list, definitely because of the price. I mean,
yeah, it's got I can see a developer with a lot of promise here. But they needed some additional help.
But also, I feel like it is too simplistic as well. If there were like other things or other environments in there as well, then you'd it'd be a bit more of a game. And this is just like just too simplistic. It's maybe something that you put on your mobile phone and just kind of like idle out to you know what I mean, just like.
There were 3 or 4 different asteroid games that were on the release list that I skipped over for a few reasons, and I think it's kind of similar to the reason this one wasn't featured as part of the list, is that they didn't do anything new. It was just asteroids, and there was no customization. There was no there's no additional features. Like, it was just like, you shoot asteroids, they split apart, you have to shoot those out. And that was all it was. And I think that there's a similar issue here where I think this is a promising young developer, and I hope they use this as their portfolio, because they may be able to get an entry-level position with this job. So with this game as their portfolio. So I think that's cool. It's not a $5 game though. This is like one of those online arcade games. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Online arcade. This could have a real following on like Congregate and stuff, and because what they need reviews, they need to get some feedback from folks, and having that $5 barrier gets in the way. If it was $1, if it was $1 or even $2, I'd be like, okay. People might be like, oh, right, you know what? I just need a game to play just for a few hours. And that's this game. So, yeah. So, yeah, Horror Shift. You've not horrified me yet.
Not horrified you yet. Maybe I will with this one, though.
All right. Okay.
Maybe.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Neck Beardia.
So yes, with enlightenment as your blade and euphoria as your shield, embark upon a quest to master the blade and rescue miladies. An IQ of 300 plus is recommended for this game.
Okay.
Oh, that's such a Reddit joke.
Yeah.
Oh, and the characters. Oh my gosh, it's a meme. So it's a meme game. It's a meme game.
Yeah, it's a meme game. And then, there's even a land called The Friend Zone.
And the Chadlands.
The Chadlands. But it always surprises me, like, just how, this is how people choose to spend their time putting their energies into something. You know what I mean? And it's like, well... So it's like a joke that's gone too far.
Yeah. You start telling the joke and it just keeps going for many hours.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, it's like, oh, this has been a lot of time. I mean, this looks like it was made in RPG Maker, probably. And oh my gosh, it does oh my gosh, they did the sprite. What else has this developer made? Keystone Knight. This is their first title. Oh, right. All right. If it's their first title, and it's only $2.99.
Yeah.
So I don't hate it.
No. don't hate it, but
I'm
at the
not
same time,
getting
it's
this
like,
game. It's got a surprising. What? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it almost reminds me of similarly cringy Gabe Newell RPG Maker games that someone released a while back. It's very much also a meme game in this style.
The thing is, so I think it was made in RPG Maker, so a lot of the features, I'm like, oh, well, the thing is, these are just plug-and-play features from RPG Maker, mostly. But they do have this little touch, like, they have little touches where it's like, oh, that took effort. That took effort to do that.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, it's like some games...
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut out. I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, yeah, sorry. We look at some of the games and we go... If you just put a little bit more effort into it, this game would be really great and everything. And in games like this, we go, I can't believe you put so much effort into this.
Sometimes that's the thing, though. It's like things where people should have put more effort and they didn't, and then in this case, it's just like, oh my word. But my word, they put so much work into this.
My final game.
Okay. Yes.
So, I know you said before, like, on one of the games, one of the last two games is like their game, everything makes sense that they put into it. It's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. So this one that completely baffled me, really.
Oh. Two tea party. Oh, whoops. That's wrong. Control C. Control V. There we go.
And horrified me as well.
I don't know what I'm looking at. What?
So you got the tea. If not, then you should get it. In a bizarre world of tea party, God forbade any tea, and to remind people about this prohibition, God removed lips from all faces. What?
Oh. You know what though? This is a winner just for its header image, with that like weird textured profile of a guy's face with a long nose.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just bizarre.
Is this one of these like drug games? Like the developer was on a lot of drugs?
I mean, if you find out later that they were, we
wouldn't be surprised.
You know what though? I will say, out of all these games, this one looks like it has a very, at least like thoughtful design put into the mechanics of the game. Like I see this and I'm like, okay, I understand how to play this just at a glance. So that's at least one good thing about it.
Then you have like these like like talking moments, like almost like point and click moments. So yeah, it's very strange.
And maybe it's also partly unsettling with like the subject being tea.
Yeah.
You know what? I would really like a game that kind of uses that sort of Eastern Orthodox icon art style. That's like a cool art style. I'd love to see an entire game done in that. But then with this mixed in with this weird pixel art and just this strange soundtrack.
Yeah, it's got like the sort of creepy
really
background music. Yeah, it's very strange. But yeah, this is 20% off right now, and it's $3.35.
I'm glad it's not the late evening here, because I might dream about this, and that'd be weird. Okay, so.
Oh, this is by the game developer that did Versailles.
Oh,
which
yeah.
we spoke about.
Yeah, we talked about Versailles. So they make games, and they're all weird. Although Versailles at least had a more sort of uniform art style.
Yeah, and an interesting story as well. It's quite an interesting. Like, even though it was a very dark story, very interesting. So, this developer is in a certain place right now.
In a certain place.
In their head. They're in a certain place in their head, and yeah, this is what they're coming out with.
I mean, if you look at all of their games, you're kind of like, they're in an interesting place.
Yeah.
And you're kind of wondering, is like, when is life going to get normal for this person? And when it does, are their games going to all suck? My word. Okay. All right. So, cheerful topic. what is your best of the list? And starting with Rody, what was your best of the list this week?
Oh, I thought we'd go with the guest first, but
I'm surprising you. I'm surprising you.
So mean. I was thinking, oh, Chris. Oh. I did put a couple down onto my wish list. I bring it up because there are some interesting games this week, and I just I don't know. Like I really like the visual novel one that we had this week.
Eliza?
Yeah, Eliza. Yeah, that was my first. It instantly drawn to it, and I would like to. I'm glad Godless Weeb said, "Oh, they're really good at puzzle games." The developer is, so that kind of tipped me over to like putting it on my wish list because it looks really great. It looks so different than other visual novels that are out there, but if it's also got some really good gameplay as well, then yeah, absolutely, I want to play this. And the other one was Misadventures of Laura Silver. I feel like I would want to watch someone play a bit of this first before I actually gave it a go, because just the concerns that we were talking about. Yeah, the description of it I don't think is.
Yeah, does it actually have decent writing, sort of thing? Yeah. Does it present itself well? Yep. Yeah.
But that's also another thing. If you're not presented yourself well in the blurb, how is the story going to be as well?
Yeah, and of course there might be some localization concerns with this being a Turkish team, so maybe just some stuff won't come across right. It's like, all right. So, Chris, what about you? What are your best of the list this week?
I mean, number one is easily Anodyne 2, just because I already bought it day one, so I knew I was gonna love that one, just based on all the other stuff that I've seen that team crank out in the past. And I gotta support my Chicago indies.
Yep. Buy local.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know, there's something about this game that really, I think, charms me. Like it taps into the nostalgia part of my brain, definitely. But there's something about like the way that they sort of have you explore this world and try to like piece together this like surreal setting. I think it's a different flavor that you don't often get, but it's a good flavor that kind of leaves you wanting a little bit more.
All right.
Otherwise, I would say Dicey Dungeons is my close second. I'll probably pick that up pretty soon. I mean, like, I honestly would even just buy it just for the Chip Cell soundtrack, but like, Harry Kavanaugh is also a wonderful designer, so really can't go wrong either way.
And they have it bundled with the soundtrack for $17.80.
Yeah.
All right. As far as me, my best of the list is probably, well, just without even a second thought, Wanna Survive is really up there for me. And there's a free demo, so I may have to check that out.
Oh, that's good. So then you play the demo, you can get back to us and tell us how it is.
So Wanna Survive. And let me see. I got convinced into checking out FlowScape. So yeah, I would definitely wanna get FlowScape eventually. So, and just see what I'm able to do with it, because I do. Sometimes you just feel like you want to make art, and this might just be it. I might have to crack that, because I still have it's like a program that's sort of a ripoff of Adobe. It's called GIMP. I've used it for artwork a lot, and every now and then I crack that open and start drawing. But man, this looks so cool. So so FlowScape, and I find it interesting how all of us chose entirely different games, so that's cool. So almost half of the list is on our best of the list category this week, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, I think it's been a really good week. We've had some, obviously very different games, but like very different good quality games, I feel, this week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like this week has been exceptionally good, even though I wouldn't say there's been a quantity of releases this week. Because I definitely didn't I wasn't going which ones do I cut kind of thing. I didn't have to do that this week, but there were really good games that came out this week. So awesome. And with that, Chris, let the internet know where they can find you.
You can find me at twitch.tv/AffinityChris, or I'm also on Twitter with 2 extra S's at the end of that. So AffinityChris.
Yeah, are you still doing the serial streams where you're going through the entire franchises?
Yep, I called them Chrono streams, basically, playing through franchises in chronological order from the first game to the last game that's been released. And it's been fun. It's quite an adventure.
Yeah, currently you're on Zelda and Samus? I mean, what's that series called?
Metroid?
Metroid, yes. Oh my gosh.
And we're getting close to wrapping up Metroid, which is pretty exciting considering that we've been playing it at least since April or May. So it's been a while. So selecting the next Chrono stream, it'll be a pretty big event, which I'm excited for.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting kind of having to decide which one's going to be next. It's got to be a series that has at least a few games. It needs probably 3 or more. So it's going to be neat to figure out what's going to be the best fit.
Yeah. Also, if it's okay, could I give a shout out to another Chicago indie that just came out this week?
Oh, absolutely.
Of course, yeah.
So a friend of mine released an edutainment game, which is an entertainment educational game. It's a game called Codemancer, and it just launched. He's been working on this for a while. He ran a Kickstarter way back. But if you ever wanted to learn how to program, it's a wonderful, delightful little experience. And I think it's just chapter 1 right now. I'm actually the one who made his trailer for him. It's good. I think it's a really charming puzzle programming game that's, I think, the whole point is to get kids into programming. But as an adult, that even me, I work in game dev and I'm not a good programmer. So going through his game was okay, yeah, I see sort of the logic of how you set up each of these steps.
Oh, I like how he sort of took a different aesthetic to the programming game, because it's almost always neon drenched, it's a cyber world kind of thing, and this one's a much more cheerful sort of out there.
It's cute, yeah.
That owl looks really dirt, though. But yeah, that's really neat. So it's sort of edutainment games can be really helpful. So that's awesome. Well, that's another list of things we gotta games that teach you how to code. That's gotta be another weird list that we make, because we have there's a few out there now.
There's a lot coming out. What came out this year? I feel.
Especially this year. I think 2019 was the year of the code game. So that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Codemancer. Alrighty. And what about you, Roadypie? What's going on with you?
I haven't streamed for a while now. I'm sorry. I've been with the heat and so tired, and so yeah, but eventually I will stream. Eventually I will have energies on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9:30 p.m. UK time, on twitch.tv Roadypie. But yeah, I will eventually stream.
Yeah.
And I usually do a lot of narrative kind of games.
Yeah, and she's got the excellent taste in them. So if you ever need recommendations, just ask her in chat. She'll have them.
Yeah, so. And I do have a Discord, so if anyone wanted to send me a message and asking for recommendations either on narrative games or just indie games in general, you can always look for me on Discord.
Yep. All right, and let me see. As far as me, I'm also having that issue. It's just a really hot summer. In addition, there's been a lot of IRL stress going on that I'm not going to go into, but it's definitely made Twitch streaming like it's just not a good idea to Twitch stream when you're not in a great mood. So
it's true.
It's just a bad idea. Just probably not. So I'm still here doing the show. I'm gonna try. I always try every week to stream a bit, but stuff's been coming up. Hopefully, when it cools down and life calms down, it's gonna be a lot easier. So, but yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv. You're watching my channel right now. You can also find me on Twitter. And of course, this video will be uploaded to YouTube. And with that, I want to say farewell to the YouTube end of things. Thank you for watching this podcast. And we'll not have a show next week. It'll be the week off. But thank you.
Yes, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, if you comment, we will try to read out your comments as well on the next show.
Yep. Bye. And
Bye.